Hello and welcome everyone to the GGG Podcast. We got a good show for you today. Lots of remaster news circling around after all of the heavy hitting news of Summer Games Fest. But as usual, today I am joined by Phil. Phil, how are you doing? What's been going on with you? Have you been playing any games this week?
I have been playing. I'm still on that multiverses grind every day. I wake up, knock out a few daily quests. Don't exactly know why, other than it's pretty fun. Outside of that, what's that?
It's the routine.
It's the routine. It's just what I do. Outside of that, it's been kind of like I've been re-downloading old games on my PlayStation 5 because I have like a 2 terabyte extra hard drive. So I'm just like, I should have The Witcher 3 on here, and then I'll play that for a little bit. I'm like, I should have another game on here, and then I'll play it for a little bit. Be like, this is what I did. Assassin's Creed. What's the Viking one?
Valhalla.
I started playing that, and I was like, this is why I stopped within like 5 minutes of playing it.
What do you think it was specifically that made you think that?
The combat is pretty bad.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's a lot of tapping R1 over and over and over again. And then you get your supers, and then you do your supers. And
It just felt very reductive, and I was like, this isn't fun at all. But yeah, no, I can't think of anything explicitly I've been like playing. I have got addicted to a new app on my phone called Whatnot. Have you heard of this?
I have not.
It's like a mix between Twitch and eBay, and you can like buy stuff. So you're watching somebody stream, and they're selling stuff, and you bid on it. And I've fallen down a magic card rabbit hole because you're doing like a magic Assassin's Creed thing.
Is it one of those things where you have to pay for the bids?
Yeah, well, like you bid like $1, $2, and then just you see who wins.
Right, but like a lot of those bidding sites, they'll be like, to buy 100 bids, you have to pay. Okay.
No, thank goodness. Thank goodness.
Okay.
Yeah, you pay what you bid, so it's not too bad.
Okay, that's good. But
still very easy to get sucked in.
And then if you don't win the bid, you don't pay anything.
Yep.
Fantastic. That's how things should work. But unfortunately, yeah. So what have you won on there?
Well, the first day I logged in, you can most of the big streams have giveaways. So I logged in, and don't get me wrong, this is not an endorsement of what app. They're not paying us. I do not encourage you, listener, to get on Whatnot. But the first day I was on it, I won like $120 like box of cards from this guy, the professor, who's like a YouTuber. And then I won like another card randomly from another guy, and then I probably spent like $20 and gotten a bunch of cards out of it. But what I don't like is how scary it is that I'm just like watching this for a while. I'm not like I don't watch Twitch streamers unless they're my friends.
Right.
Yeah, I don't like how much I'm watching it and how easy it is to just throw a couple bucks in. I feel like it can turn very dark.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, it becomes a little bit of a money pit. I get that. But
yeah.
All right. Well,
what have you been up to this week? What have you been playing?
Blah 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 blah. I still have been playing a lot of the finals. I'm still really enjoying it. I really like the new season. I would like for them to update the game so that ranked is like officially, they kind of have a ranked mode in there right now, but I want the regular ranked mode back. So that would be good. But honestly, last night I was playing some of the other modes and having fun with them. Been playing Terminal Attack, as well as there's the 5v5 mode where you try to take over the platform, which is just such chaos. Because it's all like area of effect stuff. So it's all people with grenade launchers and rocket launchers and just gas grenade, anything that's going to do a big damage
AOE
in an area.
Damage. Yeah,
exactly. So it's chaos, but it's fun. So I've been really vibing on that. I played, I think, like a couple matches of Helldivers. But like kind of how you were describing at the beginning when I asked you the question, like I think we're reaching those dog days in gaming where it's not only is not a lot coming out right now,
Hmm.
but like it's been a while since a lot of big titles have come out. So
Yeah.
Helldivers ain't slapping like it used to because it hasn't had like a big Illuminate update.
Hmm.
So and like
That's what we're all waiting for, right? That's like we know that that's coming.
we
Why aren't
all
they pulling the
agree,
trigger right now?
yes, we can all agree we're gonna get back on Helldivers when the Illuminate show up. But for right now, we've seen what we're gonna see. Uh, so yeah, but yeah, I'm just kind of puttering around, like playing a little bit of this for 5 minutes, playing a little bit of that for 5 minutes. I've been tempted to get back into Dave the Diver because
Oh yeah.
the free DLC, the last free DLC has come out, the Godzilla DLC. Um, so yeah, my girlfriend got back into that, and so I think I'm gonna jump back into that as well. But yeah, that's pretty much been it. I've been I think I played some multiverses at some point.
Mhm.
Saw that the Iron Giant is back in the game.
Yep.
Very very relieved to see him back in there. So that's been good. So
Yeah.
so yeah.
But like you
Uh,
said, we're in the dark days.
yeah, the dark days, not the dog days, the dark days.
Yeah, the dark dog days.
The dark dog days. Okay. All right. So, but for people who are also in the Dark Dog days, there are some games that actually came out this week, and one that's been trending fairly well has been the First Descendant, and this came out, I believe, it came out about 3 days ago. Since we're recording this, and it's a free-to-play third-person cooperative shooter, and honestly, it looks a lot like Warframe or Anthem in some ways. It's definitely, you can tell in kind of a, I don't know if it's a Japanese company that has made it, but it's definitely like stylized in kind of an anime futuristic stylized uh, game. So it looks very interesting, and because it's free to play, you don't have to risk any finances on giving this game a shot. So I can tell people are having fun with it. It seems like a good grindy game for people who are looking for a new third-person shooter to kind of sink their teeth into. So I don't know. I'm kind of curious. I might give this a download since it's free to play. It is a character based shooter, so it's not like a create your own character and do that kind of a thing. But if you think about it, I feel like Warframe and those kind of games, they aren't really character creation games anyway, because I have to use this Warframe or I have to use this mech or whatever. So this is just committing to that Overwatch style. This is a character you got to unlock, and so you can use them, kind of a thing.
Hmm.
So, have you seen much about this game, Phil, The First Descendant?
I have. It looks. What was that game with the voluptuous lady that came out recently?
Oh,
Stellar Blade.
Stellar Blade, yes.
It looks similar in vibe, but I've heard Stellar Blade is actually kind of closer to a Souls game. Like the combat's kind of intensive. This one seems like more of the like brash action version of that.
Yeah,
So I think I added it to my Steam library because it was free. So I was like, yeah, why not? Um, it's a tough one to decide if I want to give a try because then it becomes like freeing up the space on your computer, which is,
yes.
you know.
Yeah,
Uh, so yeah, I think if I could like maybe play with a group, but I definitely feel like as a free to play game, it limits itself in terms of I know I'm going to hit that brick wall eventually,
right.
um, where the game wants me to give it money, and I'm like, no, I don't think I'm going to do that. So yeah, I don't know. I'm if I hear a lot of good things about it, I'll probably give it a try. But other than that, I feel like just based on seeing the ads for it, I'm not sure this is something that would like really pull me in.
Sure. I definitely get that. Well, if I download it, I will let you know how it is and let our viewers know how it is.
There we go.
But yeah, that's a weird thing nowadays with the hard drive debate of like, well, I have terabytes and terabytes, but like when Baldur's Gate is 150 gigs,
Yeah.
and like Like all these games, there's so they take up so much space. Or like I know Call of Duty, a lot of people have.
It's like 300 gigs. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and to me, what that screams is old engine that is
Hmm.
not optimized. And
I
so
I feel like they could optimize it too, but they're just like, no, we're Call of Duty.
we
Save
deserve
enough
the 300.
space. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, and then what else? What else do we have releasing this week, Phil? You said
Uh,
you got a glimpse of this over on TikTok, yeah?
yeah, this is a last minute ad that I saw just went live on Steam. It's called Rooftops and Alleys, the parkour game. If your TikTok algorithm is at all like mine, you'll probably have seen this one. It is kind of like a silhouette character doing TikTok, doing parkour on a bunch of different obstacles. So think parkour mechanics meets Tony Hawk, but less parkour like Assassin's Creed, but more parkour like you're trying to do tricks explicitly and like flips and different parkour specific moves. Um, it is running in as overwhelmingly positive amongst its reviews on Steam, or sorry, overwhelmingly positive. And I believe it just dropped like a few days ago into early access. Um,
Right on.
so yeah, I think if you're into this type of thing or looking for like a Tony Hawk replacement style game, this is probably the right zone for you. Um,
How does it
and
compare to like a Mirror's Edge? I know that's an older game now, but
weirdly enough, there's a first person mode in this game, so
hmm,
you could kind of run it as if it were Mirror's Edge. But I think it's less like objective based in terms of doing a level as much as it is like nail this perfect line of tricks type of thing.
okay, right on.
So yeah, probably I'm most likely gonna pick this one up because it just looks kind of ridiculous. So
How much is it on the Steam store right now?
uh, right now it's 20% off. That goes until July 11th, and it's 12.79. Otherwise, I think it's 15.99. So
Right on.
a nice low bar for entry in terms of price. We dig that. We always love that.
Yes, yes, we do, especially with little indie games like that. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, let's get into the news this week. I mentioned there are a lot of remasters that got announced.
Hmm.
And probably the biggest one that got announced is the Dead Rising remaster that we actually got a full trailer for. So that was kind of exciting. Out of any of the remasters, I was like, okay, all right,
Hmm.
this one could be fun. So Dead Rising, for people who haven't played it before, the classic Dead Rising was this zombie game, and I think if I remember correctly, it was entirely like in a mall, if I'm remembering that correct. And I think it
That is
came
correct.
out on the Xbox 360. And I don't know if it was a launch title, but it was near the Xbox 360's launch.
Yeah.
And everyone freaking loved this game. I loved this game. I didn't even have an Xbox 360 at the time. And it was just so fun and funny. And I think it was a game that kind of took the zombie genre, and it was like, we'll maintain that this is a zombie game, but at the same time, this can also be funny. And so there are so many quirky ways that you can kill zombies, or weird funny things that happen in the game. And so it was quite a comedic game, which made it a lot of fun to like have your friends over and show all the weird quirky stuff that you could do in Dead Rising. There have been other Dead Rising games that have been less successful than the
Hmm.
original, which is probably why they're doing the remaster for this game. But yeah, I mean, did you play Dead Rising way back when, Phil? Yeah.
Oh yeah, Dead Rising. What a great like take on the original Dawn of the Dead like film,
Yeah.
because you're stuck in a mall. You're going and rescuing people. They have some really good twists in this game. Um, uh, I don't want to spoil it because I guess it is coming out as a remaster, so you probably should have played it by now. But
Yeah.
and a lot of like really fun mechanics in terms of molding together weapons and making new weapons. It has a weird feature where the game is all running on a timer, so you have to
Mm,
rescue certain people by a certain amount of time.
right.
It can get a little nerve wracking in the way that, like, operation can get a little nerve wracking. Um, but it, like many of the games that are being remastered, are a tier of game that I like to call remaster bait.
Oh man.
I got you. I,
Oh man. Well, that's I cannot make that the title of this episode. That's not
no,
allowed.
if you spell bait like like the stuff for
No.
fish.
No. No. No.
Uh,
Oh my god. So why is it bait, Phil? Why is it bait?
it's a beloved game from, like, the 2 generations ago. It's
Right.
something that's also, I think, harder to play if you don't have an Xbox 360. Um, like if you have the disc, sure, but it's hard to like get that disc. I think it's the type of thing that also people have a lot of fond memories of, and so um, that's always an easy, like, it's an easy way to make a lot of money for these developers. It's just like,
Sure.
oh yeah, we know this worked. Yeah, send it out.
Do you think they're trying to generate some new interest in the franchise? Like they might be prepping for another Dead Rising game?
I feel like, and you probably have info on this too, but I feel like that's how they test if they want to make another one.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll see how the interest level rings up. I think that a similar thing happened with Dead Space, the Dead Space remaster.
Yes.
Um, they literally, EA even sent out email questionnaires to a lot of people who bought it. Were like, hey, would you buy a Dead Space 2 remaster? Um, so I
I
think
would.
this is their way of testing the market.
Yeah, a clever way well, I don't know, not so clever because everybody freaking does it. But yeah, out of all these remasters, I'd say like this could be a very fun one. I will say if I'm remembering Dead Rising correctly, because I know that it's out for PC and whatnot. But last time I really played it was on the Xbox 360, and I remember there being a lot of very I used the word quirky before, but I'll use it again here, but kind of in a negative way. But in that there's a lot of quirky gameplay mechanics that didn't really, in my opinion, function correctly for the game. And so I would really like for this remaster if they took the time to adapt some of the gameplay, some of the controls a little bit, so that it's not just we brought it up to 4K and we smoothed over some blocky textures. So I don't know if they're actually going to be able to do that though.
I
But
you know I remember playing the original one, and I had like no form of HD TV,
mm,
and I remember not being able to read a lot of the things that people like said because it was all text brackets, very little
mm-hmm.
voice acting.
Yeah.
Um, so trying to like read all of that stuff was a nightmare because they didn't optimize it for not HD, so the letters were so small.
Ugh.
Um,
Yes.
so
Please fix
that
that.
that's a new thing.
Although it would be pretty funny if you try to play it on a not HD TV nowadays. So.
Yeah, I think.
All right, well, pressing right through the onslaught of remasters coming at us. So, Star Wars Bounty Hunter is also getting a remaster. Star Wars Bounty Hunter, I believe, originally came out on the PS2 and other platforms as well. That's the one that I played it on. And when I was a kid, oh my God, I love Star Wars Bounty Hunter. It was a little. I know my dad wasn't crazy about it because it was a little mature for my age, but it's essentially a Star Wars game where you play as Jango Fett before he is recruited to be the clone copy, to be the clone for the Clone
For
Wars.
Genosha and all. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so I really like the game. It was one of my favorite games as like a preteen, and I think that it's cool that it's getting a remaster. But honestly, it's this game is so old, and this is to speak of like how old I am. This game is so old that we need a remake if you're going to do this. A remaster where you're just cranking the dials, like I just said about Dead Rising. I just
Mhm.
don't feel like it's really worth it. Because this is a game that is not, the gameplay is not going to translate well to someone playing it in the modern day. And that's the biggest problem I have with a lot of remasters where they just don't fix any of the jank. And like some people would argue, well, the jank is what makes it old and authentic and whatnot. Well, then it's not a remaster. Then
It's not good.
go play the original game. Get a PS2 emulator and play it that way if that's how you really want to experience it. But
the Bounty Hunter upres. That's pretty much what it is. If it's just yeah.
Yeah, and so Star Wars Bounty Hunter was a very good game. I think it had a decent story. I actually think it had a lot of good content in it. And I remember it had a lot of funny like outtakes that they animated for once you watch the actual story cutscene, you could go back into the menu and be like, let me see the outtake for that cutscene, and it would be that kind of stuff is really funny, and it's a good way to incentivize like pre-achievement hunting.
Yeah.
Like that's what you did in the old days before you had achievements and trophies and whatnot. So like it's a really good game. It's got a special place in my heart. But if the trailer was any indication, they're really not doing much with this, and I'm a little alarmed how much they're gonna sell it for, which I want to confirm before I actually say the price.
Anything north of $30 is a crime.
Yeah. let's see what we got.
I know it's a hot take, but
not a hot take at all, unless you were being sarcastic, which you probably were. I didn't put this one in the news, but I brought it up before we started recording. Epic Mickey also getting a remaster. Why?
definitely some bait as well. I think that if you're gonna say a game is a remaster, air quotes, that you should do like Final Fantasy VII. Well, it's remake technically. Like a remaster should be recreating the game. And I know that that's a lot of work. I'm not a game developer, but here's my thing: don't sell old trash to us, especially in an age like where we can get a lot of it, and especially if you like have limited the stock. What's the right word? Falsely, like if you a lot of old Nintendo games that like if they were to remaster like Balloon Fight or whatever.
Sure.
But they just didn't have it available in any way, shape, or form anymore, and they capped all emulation. Like, I don't know. I just have a problem with this where I feel like it's just the cheapest way to like crank some more bucks out. I guess it's good for onboarding and training new teams, but it's also the type of thing, and it's like, why are we paying for that?
Maybe, but like I feel like you're limiting a new team's creativity because it's like it's tracing, not drawing.
Yeah.
And it's not even like, at least with Final Fantasy VII, I know like some people really love it, some people are like it's fine, or I don't like the changes they made, and everything. But you could see that with the Final Fantasy remake and the two games, that's another thing, like they didn't want it split up into two games, but you can see that like they remade the game and they added a bunch of content, and so it's like that's what I want out of but of course they labeled it specifically as that is a remake as opposed to a remaster. So yeah, let's keep plowing through these remasters. Another remaster coming, Beyond Good and Evil remaster coming before Beyond Good and Evil 2, which is never coming out. Never coming out.
Not
Beyond
gonna
Good and
happen.
Evil 2. Not going to happen. Even though we got that amazing cinematic trailer from Beyond Good and Evil 2. Oh my god.
Do you remember when they announced it and then like 6 months later they were like, "Hey, so here's the thing. We're making it kinda, but what about if you guys made it for us? If you guys gave us assets and did testing and maybe did some coding for it." Was the most wild thing I've ever seen. And like I didn't play Beyond Good and Evil, so I don't have like the attachment to that source material.
Yeah.
But it is such a wild swing to just be like, you do it. You remake the or you make the sequel. And they promised a lot, which looked really, really good, really, really fun. They had a moment where the ship drifted in air, which was really, really cool. I don't know if you remember that. Like but like this was before No Man's Sky,
Mhm.
and they promised the entire universe and still have delivered nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it just took so long, and by the time they actually released that cinematic, I was so pumped. And then there's like gameplay stuff that came out, like you were talking about with the starship and everything, and like I had no expectation that it was going to be like you can go anywhere in the galaxy. Like I didn't have that expectation.
Mhm.
But like I had an expectation that it was going to come out. I played Beyond Good and Evil. Um, I think it was on the PS2, and so another PS2 classic coming at you. And look, it's a really good game. It is a really good game. I think it's a tad overrated, but I think you kind of have to give the game the grace, and I know I did, of it being a new IP. And
Mhm.
when it's the first game, like you understand there's going to be some stuff, some rough edges, here and there. But like I loved it. It became like a fan favorite game, and now that they're like, hey, we're not actually doing the second one, we're just going to resell you this old one. I hope, as we were just talking about with Dead Rising, I hope that this might be, hey, let's test the market again. Let's see if people still want this. But at this point, like I can't, like it's kind of unreasonable to assume that they're ever going to move this franchise forward, and I'm extremely disappointed by that. And I believe this is a Ubisoft game. Am I correct? In
You, yeah,
yeah,
it's a Ubisoft one. It's
yeah,
also the type of game that I think is an ill fit for a remaster. I think Dead Rising is probably pretty like it's a clunky game, and even I think Bounty Hunter would be better as a remake. But I feel like Beyond Good and Evil, if it is such a seminal game, as a lot of people say it is, great game, that's fine fit for a remake in my opinion. Like
yeah,
that would make me play Beyond Good and Evil. Like, oh, it is the really good game that I've heard about, but with modern gaming sensibilities, I'm in because in my book, a lot of gaming has just gotten better. Like it's better at
yeah,
tutorializing, gameplay's better, tighter. I don't,
absolutely.
I don't feel the need to go back and play games, even if they're really, really good. To go back and play games just to, because you have to deal with so much cruft of like,
Yeah,
oh, this is what games were doing in the early 2000s. Everything was gray. This, that. So.
I think like if we're talking about something that was in the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 era, you can still do a remaster for those things and that's fine. But when we start getting into the PS2, Xbox original, because I can't say one, what was the GameCube? When we're talking about that era, that it's too old, guys. It's you
So far
gotta
back.
you gotta commit to a remake, and then I feel like they're using these games as the remasters as a barometer to test the market, as we just said, and it's like it's not a good barometer to test the market in because the game is too old. So it's not just about what the idea, the concept is. It's about the gameplay mechanics. It's
Hmm.
about the jankiness. And so if people don't buy it, it's not that they don't want, like I really want Beyond Good and Evil 2, but do I really need to play a half-assed remaster of Beyond Good and Evil? No, I don't.
No,
So it's Ugh, I hate it. I hate it so much.
that's remasters. I think in general just feel half-assed. Typically,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, I would
it's
agree with that.
we up-resed it, but
Yeah, I mean, like I bought like the Jack and Daxter collection, where they remastered it, sort of, which is just like we added one resolution higher. And that's what we did, and
yeah,
now you can pick which game you want to play out of the main menu, and it's just like I don't. It's not good enough, guys. like
that
so.
works when you're somewhere that has like an arcade cabinet that shouldn't have an arcade cabinet, and it just got like 45 different games. That's the only situation where I want to play a game, a full game that I pick out of a menu. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But other than that, it just feels weird. It just feels strange. But
yeah. All right. Well, let's get out of remaster hell
Let's
and
talk
move.
about some new games.
Yeah. All right. So a popular shooter, X Defiant, that I've been playing quite a bit. Still been playing more finals. But X Defiant. I'm happy to play a game that's going to steal some market away from COD. And they are officially coming out of their preseason and moving into season one. So they're going to be adding a new faction of operatives. They're going to be adding new maps, new weapons, new seasonal progression. And it looks like even though they had the initial spike of players, they've actually been able to hold on to a decent player population. Which this I think is pretty big for Ubisoft, because Ubisoft has never been like the first person shooter company. And the fact that they're kind of latching on to players who liked older versions of Call of Duty, more in that like modern warfare original, timeline. I think it's really working well, and the game just needs more content, and that's exactly what season one is going to give you. It's just going to give you more content. So I'm probably going to check this out. I don't know if I'll get the battle pass personally, but I'm kind of good at this game. So
Eh,
I like playing it.
I did a little reading up on it, and it seems like every season they're doing a new map, which is pretty cool. Or sorry, every month, so more rapidly than every season.
Yeah.
And I really dig that, because in this type of game, a map is like it is the puzzle piece that you are trying to fit your build into. More so than even playing with other people, just learning a map and kind of like figuring out all that stuff. And then when you're playing a new map for the first time, it makes the game feel almost like it's completely new, because you're finding these new angles, you're finding choke points to fight over. So
Yeah.
that's it's if they can keep that steam going for a little while, keep that heat, that's going to bode well for them. And being a free to play game on the market that's not a battle royale and is a kind of COD competitor could possibly do big numbers for Ubisoft. I'm very
Absolutely.
excited for it.
I think this is great for them. Like, I love the new map a month. Remember, in season one, they're immediately dropping 3 maps
Yeah.
immediately, and then they're gonna release a map every new month, every you know what I mean.
Mhm.
And so I think that that's fantastic, and I think, like as you were saying, it adds that element of discovery where you're not dealing with players who have memorized every single corner of the map. They've memorized where that again, that's part of playing first person shooters and that Twitch shooter gameplay. So I totally get that, but it's good to have a consistent, you know, influx of new content so that everyone's learning at the same time, as opposed to just the hardcore people. So yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm gonna definitely check out season one. But yeah, there's not much else to report on X Defiant in the meantime. So do you want to grab this next topic, Captain Multiverses?
Absolutely. Get ready, fans, because guess who's coming? Get over here. It's Scorpion. He's going to join Multiverses, most likely. So there have been a lot of rumors swirling around about Multiverses that seem pretty much confirmed, even as much as like a sort of like tweet with the art for the character in the Multiverses style. Looks like it's on official, like an official slide from a presentation.
Yeah,
Uh,
I believe it was a fan. It was a fan made animation.
okay.
But the one of the lead directors on Multiverses replied to it
Yeah.
purposefully, and then refused to answer any questions about it. So it was just kind of heavily implied.
So he'd be a great fit, because the Multiverses, although it is a very cartoony looking game, has some like pretty adult stuff in there.
I mean,
Rick
yeah,
and
they
Rick
got
and
Jason.
Morty. They have Jason. They have Arya that whenever she kills someone, she leaves a pie, like a meat pie, and if they eat it, they get
Oh,
slowed down. And like if you know the context behind it, it's pretty terrifying. So Scorpion would fit in pretty well. They just released a trailer today for Agent Smith, who is the next character being added. Um, and he looks pretty great. Like all of the stuff that they add in for the characters fits them so well, and also works really well in the sort of like arena brawler game type. So I hope they just keep adding characters. Like I want Voldemort, I want all sorts of different Warner Brothers franchises to just climb all over this game. And it seems like, I mean, granted, I'm playing a lot. It seems like it might have the fire behind it to keep going for at least a couple years. You know?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the thing that gives it the edge over Nickelodeon's Brawl game is that it's free to play. And the
Mm-hmm.
Nickelodeons, you have to. I do think actually the Brawl game is coming to Xbox Game Pass this month.
Okay.
So that is a free way to play Nickelodeon's version of it. But over here, I have pulled up a list of rumored characters for multiverses. So I thought it'd be fun to kind of just go through some of them. So a lot of these are from data mines. Some of them are from legitimate leaks. Uh, but just to address, I'll just pull out a couple of them. So we got Harry Potter, supposed to be in there. Raven from Teen Titans.
Okay. Yeah. Easy.
Gandalf from Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny Bravo. Godzilla. Scorpion is
Is
on there. Scorpion has been confirmed from Datamine and early leaks. So
oh.
so he seems the most likely, especially with this latest thing that just happened. Poison Ivy, Static Shock. I would love some Static Shock in
Static Shock would be a real cool character.
yeah. The Powerpuff Girls could be thrown in here. Samurai Jack could be thrown in here. Mr. Meeseeks from Rick and Morty. What else? What else?
He is already kind of one of Rick's moves that he summons a Meeseeks and throws it at you, or like has to
Right.
do a golf swing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think out of all of those, probably like Gandalf, Static Shock, and you said Godzilla is one of the characters.
Yeah, Godzilla and King Kong as well.
I mean, if you did them sort of like Iron Giant, where they're just maybe two or three times bigger than everyone else, you could get away with it pretty easily.
Yeah.
But yeah, not a single one of those do I think lame. All of them would be great.
Yeah, what do you think of? I think like one of the key differences between multiverses and Smash Brothers is kind of the lack of items.
hmm
And I know that certain characters have items, like Shaggy has his sandwich, Rick has his items, and there's
hmm
plenty of characters who have different items. But I think it would be like, I don't know if Godzilla is the fit here. Like I would much rather see like a Godzilla King Kong map or a Godzilla King Kong item, where it's like Godzilla like blasting his laser beam, through the screen or something like that. But I think they've kind of stayed away from items to keep it more fair. What do you think about that?
I feel like I think it's probably more of a coding problem to add that many more items. I just it would have brought the development of the game like a lot longer to have to balance all those items.
Mhm.
Um, because in Smash, like though there are some items that feel like they can really turn a game on its head, uh, it doesn't seem like this game is built for that. It seems like this game, like the characters have a lot more that they can do on their own than your average Smash character, in my opinion. Like I think
Right.
everyone has probably 10 or 15 different specific attacks. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I feel like it doesn't necessarily fit in this game. That's maybe just me having played it. But also if you play Smash, most people immediately go like no
No
items,
items.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're all wrong because Pokeballs only is a perfectly fine way to play the game.
But they made a character for that. Gosh
Yeah,
darn it.
it just has three Pokemons. But yeah, I think it would be pretty cool to have that as like a different way that you could get some different characters or different franchises represented. That would probably be the closest way I could get to getting Ted Lasso in the game, is by like a soccer ball.
Yeah, there is no Ted Lasso on this list, and this is from right as the game came out, which I believe
Mm,
is May 28th of this year. So this is the most recent list, and there is no Ted Lasso, unfortunately.
damn it. I'm
Sadness.
done with the game. Uh, Speaking of games that I'm done with, do you want to slide into talking about
Please.
the? Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
So Let Me Solo Her has tweeted publicly that he struggled with the final boss of Shadow of the Erdtree.
yeah. This speaks
Makes
volumes.
sense. Yeah.
This speaks volumes, okay? That the best player of Elden Ring, like, was on the struggle bus. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing, guys?
Okay. Well. Okay. There's a couple things about Let Me Solo Her and the way that he plays, because he plays like when he's been fighting Melania. Well, I don't remember Melania Trump. When he's been fighting Melania Trump,
Yeah, a
he
new character coming to multiverses.
yeah. um he only wears like a loincloth and like at the pot head and uses one sword. So I think he's not about like optimization that much. It's really the
Yes.
raw gameplay. And I know that
Yes.
there are a couple items in Erdtree that really like it's some sort of bark that you consume that gives you like 20% power and you can max all the way up to 100. So if he's not using those, I could see someone even with extreme skill coming up against a pretty difficult stopping point.
Right. Where
But
it's
also,
just the numbers are against him kind of a thing.
yeah, but also Shadow of the Erdtree is, from what I understand, really hard, and maybe they went too far with this one. What do you think, Paul? Where's your brain at on
I mean,
Erdtree and Let Me Solo Her?
well, just like I get that, Let Me Solo Her, does the loincloth and the basket hat. And I get that he's not using all of this fancy, all the magic and all the buffs and everything like that. I'm sure he uses some of them, but like you said, he's more of a raw gameplay player. And so, like, I don't know. It's just when I read something like that, I'm like, if Let Me Solo Her can't do it, why do you think I'm gonna be able to do it? I
Yeah.
mean, like this is a different statistic that was released when Erdtree came out last week. We didn't bring it up, but in order to access Shadow of the Erdtree, you have to beat a specific boss,
Mhm.
and as far as like players who own the game, only 38% of players actually beat that boss so that they could access the DLC. So less than half of the players who own the game could actually access the DLC. And I think like that's while that's in very like crazy to me, I think that's part of the reason why so many people are into Elden Ring, where it's like this gamer level of just like, well, you're just not good enough, like kind of a thing. And it's about like, yeah, I'm part of that top blank blank percent or
Mhm.
whatever. So but yeah, I've seen so many Let Me Solo Her videos and like seen how good uh they are, and I just can't fathom them having a hard time with anything.
Now,
So
I think that there is well, it's a bummer because like that I think that's certainly part of the Elden Ring like fan base. But I think one thing that Elden Ring does really, really, really well is they reward exploration and they make exploration really, really fun. Um, and from what I've heard of Shadow of the Erdtree takes that to new levels, so where like you should really be investigating as much as you can. But to gate that behind something that'll the vast majority of players haven't done, um, does feel tricky. Maybe there's a lot of people going back to it because I think that boss is somewhere probably like 40 to 60 hours into the game. So maybe this is an invitation for a lot of people to come back and finish Elden Ring so that they can get to Erdtree. But um, you know, I'm happy someone's taken that risk because this is the type of move that I'm like, oh, that no one would ever do that. Like they're gonna water it down somehow. No,
right.
FromSoft is doing it. So
All right. Well, let's press on because we're going over time. We're not even doing a main topic this episode. We're just getting through all this news. So,
good us.
Game Informer got a exclusive look at Concord, and Concord is the Overwatch shooter type game that we saw from one of Sony's State of Plays. I believe it was in May that we first saw this game. And it was actually quite an interesting little dive into the game. And they obviously, it's always good to have a separate party talk about the game, like Game Informer, instead of like Sony covering it. And so they were actually able to share some very honest opinions about it. And surprisingly, they said that they liked it. And they said that while the game is definitely flavors of Overwatch, that the gameplay itself actually feels closer to PvP in Destiny. And they also went on to say that they realized that many of the people who are working on the game were former employees of Destiny and have worked on Destiny. And so you kind of, by that, and like the most tangible thing to see when you're actually looking at gameplay of the game is kind of how floaty things are and like how many abilities you have, as far as like as well as the like time to kill. It's very Destiny-esque, where it's like it's not well, and even that there's a little bit more time to kill than Destiny, just a little bit, in that when you start getting shot by someone, you have time to react and do something to get out of the situation or to change the odds in your favor, which is a type of PvP flavor that I really resonate with, because like games like Defiant are great and whatnot, but most of the time in games like COD or Defiant or most Twitch shooters, it's really about Counter-Strike. It's really about
seeing someone before they see you, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. And so I like that there is a different approach to this. I've played Overwatch 2 recently, and I'm not crazy about how it feels anymore. I hope that Microsoft updates it, but I think they're a little tentative to change things. So yeah, anything that's going to move PvP and that kind of team-based character shooter forward, I'm down, and I'm glad that Concord seems like it's more than just a fancy cinematic.
Seeing the gameplay, because I feel like the trailer that I saw, I was like, what the hell is this game even? Like, it just was kind of gobbledygook, like modern gamer nonsense. I just feel like the trailer washed over me. Seeing the gameplay and the fact that it feels a lot like Destiny, that's kind of a hole that I feel like I've had in my heart since I used to play Destiny regularly.
Right.
And I think that's something that can be really, really fun. Until we get a Destiny 3 or whatever, a proper next iteration of that's going to be.
Yeah.
And also just really, really fun, easy multiplayer for people to get into. I like that it's kind of tied to characters, like the time to kill's higher, because it is, like you said, it can be really demoralizing for your first 10 to 15 hours of CSGO or your first 3 hours of COD, where you're just dying for no reason. You don't know why it's happening. You just boom, dead.
Yeah.
So definitely into it. Definitely into some of classic stuff. Like you have to run over health things to regain health. It might be the type of thing that blends the old with the new enough to get people interested in these type of shooters. But we need something different than Overwatch. We need something different than that Star Wars Rivals game.
Yes, please, 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 please. I would, yeah. Anything. It doesn't have to be Concord, but something else, because I'm kind of done with Overwatch, to be honest. All right, let's press on forward. So something that is the complete opposite of a FromSoft choice is that Dragon Age Veilguard has a no death mode. You heard me correctly, people. There is a no death mode in the new Dragon Age, meaning you don't die. And the director who talked about this, he said that this was basically so that they didn't want to limit access to players from any level. And so for more casual gamers to come in and be like, I've never played a game like this, so that they could practice and not die and whatnot. And so this is something that we kind of talked about last week when we were talking about Erdtree, we were talking about gaming difficulty and whatnot, and I talked about the example of like my girlfriend's journey with playing God of War, where she started God of War on easy and then was able to move up to normal and beat the game on normal. I think personally this is a step too far.
Mhm.
Like having a no death mode is basically like you can just get through the game doing whatever you want, and if there's no consequences to what you're doing, then I don't actually think that helps teach a player how to do certain things. And like again, like I am all for easy modes, but like saying that there's just no way that you can die, like that seems a bit ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
What do you think, Phil?
Well, I see that there's probably going to be a lot of people who play this game for the story, or maybe that's what they're trying to emphasize, is
Yeah.
that you can play this game solely for the story. Um, I would like that for a lot of people that I know that maybe like get frustrated by these types of games. Uh, but it makes me a little bit less interested for sure to know that the sort of the challenge is on that sort of slider,
Hmm.
where it's you can easily just get rid of it. You can get rid of the damage, and the game is still happening. So bums me out a little bit. I hope that they find some ways to still. They must be confident. I hope they're confident in still ways to make it impactful. To maybe have you making choices that affect the way that you play. But I don't know. I'm not against the no death mode because I think there are people who probably are really into the aesthetic who want to experience the game and get challenged to the point when they can't. But it does take the excitement wind out of my sails just a little bit.
Yeah, like yeah, I don't know. There's also along with this, there is a mode called Unbound, and this is where you can go in and basically change all the settings. Kind of what you were alluding to, where it's just about like, yeah, I want to make my melee attacks do 3 times the regular amount of damage. I, to me, I don't like that. It's
Mhm.
like I understand when you're talking about games on servers, where it's like V Rising or something like that, or Pow World, where you want to be able to go in and change certain aspects, because you're running a private server when the game was meant to be played on a public server, something like
Mhm.
that. But to completely be like, I'm going to do the slider work for you. I don't know. It just seems like too much. Again, this is just another feature that you don't have to use, and you could frickin' ignore it. But it is an interesting approach that we haven't really seen before in this style of game. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what else there
Uh,
is to say about that.
I mean, listen. I hope this game. I don't know much about this game because they haven't told us that much. I would love like some sort of character death mode where you could play and like lose essential story people, like in Mass Effect 2 in the end battle when people would die randomly. I would love something like that to make it feel more impactful. Even if there was a no death mode for your character, you could still play a run where you completely est the bed and every one of your beloved character friends dies. Um, will they do that? Probably not. But I'm holding out hope that they, at least make it feel impactful. If the combat isn't going to feel impactful, like at least make the story feel sumptuous, something for us to dig into.
Yeah, and again, as a reminder, Dragon Age Veilguard coming out later this year. So we're gonna get a chance to jump into that soon.
Eee.
Oh boy! All right. Last but not least on our news list, we have the Steam Summer Sale is going on right now. It's going on. It's been going on for a little under a week, and will be continuing to go on until 7/11. That is July 11th. Lots of good games on there, and also we'll focus on the Steam sale for right now. But there are a lot of sales going on. I believe Epic Games has a sale. PlayStation has a sale. I don't know if Xbox. Do you know if Xbox is doing a summer sale at all? Or I know
Not to
that.
my knowledge.
Okay.
They probably are doing something because I feel like there's always a sale going on.
There's
So,
they've learned from Steam, like there always needs to be a sale going on.
mhm.
So But anyway, so just wanted to point out some of the summer sale steals out there. I have a friend actually right before we started recording. I saw him playing Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League.
I was just gonna say, $20.99 might be the point to jump in on Suicide Squad.
I asked him what he thought in Steam chat, and he was like, I think this might be what the game is actually worth.
Yeah,
It's $20.
I think he's right. If you
So
paid 60, I'm very sorry.
70. It's a $70 game, boyo.
Oh, I forgot. It's quadruple A.
Yeah. So, are there any games that you've purchased on the Steam sale so far?
There's a couple in here that I have purchased at different price points.
Okay.
But okay, Shadow of War is probably one of my favorite like long-term games. That's running for $3 right now.
Oh my God. Oh,
Such
please
an
pick that
excellent
up.
game. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you don't have it, please grab it. Arkham Knight is $2 on Steam, which I think is still a pretty excellent looking game. Civilization 6, Ghost Recon Wildlands, which is actually kind of a strangely fun game.
It is. And much
Yeah,
better than the most recent Ghost Recon, in my opinion.
yeah. Is that Breakpoint? Is the other one?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Eh.
Yeah.
But similarly, The Witcher Wild Hunt, like the game that was the game of the year 2018,
Yeah.
2019, $3. Sorry, 3.99. And Jurassic World 2, uh, $6. I feel like the game came out last year, so some really great stuff. Is there anything that you feel super inclined, like looking at the games, that you would suggest to some folks as well?
Yeah, I mean, I've suggested this before to people, but just because it's on sale, Deep Rock Galactic
Mm.
has just moved into season 5, and they dropped their season 5 trailer a couple weeks ago, and I was blown away by the amount of content that they are. This might be maybe the last season, I don't know, but the amount of content that they dropped into this seasonal update was
Mhm.
big, and it lets you do something that only a few games let you do. And I guess I'll credit Halo to this sort of, but it actually lets you now select which season you want to play. So all of the previous seasons are built into the game. So if there's any seasonal progression that you want to do from a specific season, you can just go to a list in the menu and pick, I want to progress in this season doing that. And so also, like, there's a new mission type in the game, and all of the skins and everything like that are on sale. So it's just really cheap. It's great cooperative fun. If you liked Helldivers, you'll love Deep Rock Galactic. So I'm always a big proponent of that game. But let me pull up the Steam sale and see if there's anything else that I would
Yeah.
recommend to others.
Uh, in the under 10 category, Subnautica and Subnautica Below Zero are both
Mm.
pretty excellent exploration games. If you like survival exploration, for $10, $20 for the two of them, you get probably like 100 hours of exploration and discovery and all. Really, really fun games.
Right on. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Steam summer sale. I've been intrigued by Dead Island 2. It's only 50% off, so it's $30. So it's one of the more expensive summer Steam sale games. But I also might recommend World War Z. If you're into zombie games where you just want to pull down the trigger and shoot an endless amount of zombies, that is the game to do it.
Mhm.
I know a lot of people weren't too keen on Bloodborne from a few years back, and so if you're just looking for a basic zombie shooter to fill the gap, that is a good one as well. I'm trying to see what else. Fallout 76 for the Fallout fans, $10 right now. It's pretty good.
Yeah, not bad. I mean, I think you can get it on Game Pass and PlayStation Plus, like their second tier. But that's $10 a month versus just $10, and you can have the game. Uh,
Sure.
I would also like to suggest Vampire Survivors, which
Oh
is like free to
yes,
play on your phone. But yeah, 374, which is 25% off. So not a steep cut, but still a game that's worth, I think, every penny.
absolutely, absolutely. I think that's probably it.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's definitely a Steam sale where like there's some things that I'm like, oh man, if I didn't have that already, I would buy that right now. So,
yes, exactly, exactly. Yeah, there's Company Heroes is on sale. I really for those World War II game fans out there. I really like Company of Heroes. It's built with the same kind of engine that a lot of the Dawn of War Warhammer games are built with. I really like it because it's a shooter RTS, and so it's like you have your troops that are actually like using cover and behaving like modern soldiers instead of
mm,
just standing in lines and shooting at each other. So I really like the the specificness of that, I should say, but
mm.
yeah, Back for Blood. Yeah, I know I just said people weren't fans with it, but it's $6. Like that's a good deal for
That's
$6.
if you've played the hell out of Left 4 Dead, Back 4 Blood is not bad for $6.
Come on.
It's not as good as Left 4 Dead or Left 4 Dead 2, but
Yeah,
it's more of it.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Pretty much it for me. So,
Yeah, yeah, same here. I would say definitely check it out. Now is the time of year where they're just unloading great games for cheap. So check your local, your whatever your regular like PlayStation Marketplace. If you have any websites that you go to, I know Green Man's running some discounts. For the first
oh,
time, Baldur's Gate is on sale, and that's 20% off, which is the most I think has been on sale.
I
So
feel like if you didn't buy Baldur's Gate by now, you're not gonna do
you're not gonna.
it.
If someone's like, I don't want to pay $60, $50, I'm in.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, yeah, very very cool. Glad there's if you're like us and you're in the Dark Dog days, you're probably looking for things to take up your time or to escape the heat, uh, which we're starting to feel down here in Los Angeles. So,
So pop on your hot computer and sit in your room
yep,
with it.
and turn that fan on as well. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for us. We are over time, so I'm going to call it there. But thank you, as always, for joining me, Phil, and thank you to our audience for listening or watching, depending on what version of the podcast you're watching. If you're over on YouTube, we would really appreciate a like and a subscribe. It would really help us out. And if you're over on listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, we'd love a review there or a follow or whatever you would like to do. We really appreciate it. I'm probably gonna try out the First Descendant this week or possibly this weekend. So maybe I'll throw that up on a stream. So be looking out for that as well.
Yeah,
All right.
maybe we can multiplayer that guy because I am interested. I will free up the space on my computer.
All right. Well, we'll see how big it is. That's the real question. Because if they're coming in hot with 80 gigabytes, I'm busy.
My precious mortal time, room in my computer, not so much. That is me, unironically.
Yes, exactly. All right. We're gonna end it there. Have a good one, everybody.
Peace.